Okay, so I will be discussing a story called The Nightingale by Hans Christian Andersen. Set in the eastern side of the world, specifically China, there was a Chinese emperor's palace that was all of porcelain. And there was a pretty place right past that, a noble forest that had a nightingale that could sing a beautiful beat. Many people, fishermen, poor people, farmers, they always enjoyed hearing it all the time. And travelers in different countries always came to visit the emperor's palace. It had many things. It wasn't technologically advanced, so a lot of stuff about literature and books. Yet nobody knew about the nightingale. And someone suddenly said it, then it drew the attention of emperor. Of course, when he looked through his library, he didn't quite believe that there was such a creature, because it didn't exist in his books. Then someone else joined in and told the emperor about the nightingale. A little girl told them that she listened to the bird every evening. Said that nightingale's voice was very beautiful. So he offered a chance to dine. So she was offered a chance to dine with the emperor if she led them to where the nightingale lived. It took a while. They mistook different sounds for the nightingale. Once they finally met the nightingale, he was requested to go to the court and to sing for everyone in that court. Once that event happened, he sang a lot, and then he vanished. The courtiers blamed her and called her an ungrateful creature, but one said she was the best bird after all. Called him an ungrateful creature. And then there was a replacement bird. Then it started singing what the nightingale tried to. And then the music master praised the bird's abilities to the highest degree, said it was even better than the original nightingale. A year later, the artificial nightingale continued to impress listeners, and even the street boys sang along with it. Great sorrow happened. The bird was allowed to sing once a year. Then the music master said a lot of things about the bird's gracefulness, and nobody contradicted him. 5 years later, the emperor was said to not live long. He saw death, and death wanted to take his life. And then the nightingale appeared and warded off death and restored his health. He thanked him for the kindness, despite that he already banished the nightingale from the palace. He wondered what was it that he could do but the Nightingale already said that he did do something. Seeing his tears was enough for him already while he was singing for. And then Emperor said that he would wipe out the artificial bird so that the Nightingale could stay with him forever. The Nightingale told him it wasn't necessary. He said that he couldn't stay in one place because he needs to build a nest. So he asked he said that he'll visit only if he wants to, only when he wants to. And then he requested something from the Emperor. The Emperor said he would give everything, but the Nightingale said one thing. He told the Emperor to tell nobody that there's a little bird telling him information. The author's background. Hans Christian Andersen was born in Odense, Denmark on April 2, 1805. His father was a shoemaker and his mother made money by washing other people's laundry. Andersen persuaded his mother to let him try his luck in Copenhagen, Denmark, at the age of 14, rather than studying to become a tailor. He suffered horribly at first. He tried many things: singer, dancer, actor, and he tried becoming when he was 17, a government official arranged for him to receive a scholarship in order to give him a second chance at education. He was a poor student who was never able to complete his studies successfully. He was never taught how to spell or write in Danish. His writing style remained close to spoken language and still sounds fresh today. Then his career happened. His first novel, The Improvisatore, in 1835. He finished his first novel. It's a small volume, Fairy Tales. And then it was inspired by his own experiences. It was a success not only in Denmark but also the United Kingdom, Germany also. However, many of his poems are still popular in Danish literature. His most lasting contributions, aside from fairy tales, are his travel books, autobiography. He was a lifelong bachelor. Well, he was in love with Jenny Lind. He spent a majority of his life as a guest in the country homes of the wealthy Danes. He traveled extensively throughout Europe, where he met and became friends with well-known Europeans, including English novelist Charles Dickens. Andersen began writing fairy tales as a child by retelling folk tales he had heard from his grandmother and others. And then he began making his own stories. The majority of his stories are original. The first volume, published between 1835 and 1837, contained 19 stories titled Fairy Tales Told for Children. The title was changed to New Fairy Tales in 1845. The first 4 volumes published under his title contain 22 original stories and are regarded as some of Andersen's finest work. The title was changed to Stories in 1852. and the volumes were renamed New Fairy Tales and Stories from then on. He published more books. Ugly Duckling, 1872, The Princess and the Pea, and The Little Mermaid. And then he thought about giving up because of discussions he had with his friends and Danish critics. Then he believed in that the fairy tale would be universal poetry that exists in all cultures. He saw would be the poetic form of the future, combining folk art and literature. Okay, so while most of his stories are appropriate for children, the best ones are written for adults as well. The stories can take on different meanings for different readers, which is something only a great poet can do. On August 4, 1875, Andersen died in Copenhagen, Denmark. According to legend, the Nightingale was intended to express his heartbreak over a Swedish opera singer, Jenny Lind, in 1840. Andersen met the famous songstress and pursued her romantically. However, Lind insisted on a friendship instead. God bless and protect my brother is the sincere wish of his affectionate sister. Yeah. Though Jenny and I first became sensible of the holiness of art, the famous author wrote in his biography. In 1843, in a collection called New Fairy Tales, this fairy tale was first published and remains popular over the centuries. Now for the criticism. Formalist criticism. His style is descriptive, dramatic, sparse, and poetic. So, our man Andersen clearly has a tonal range. However, you can see a whole host of styles in his stories because of so many of them are darn covering so many different topics: love, religion, household objects, blah 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 blah. Okay, so the Emperor's Palace was the wonder of the world. It was made entirely of fine porcelain, extremely expensive, but so delicate that you could touch it with only the greatest of care. In the garden, the rarest flowers bloomed, and to the prettiest ones were tied little silver bells, which tinkled so that no one could pass by without noticing them. Yes, all things were arranged according to the plan in the Emperor's garden, though how far and wide it extended, not even the gardener knew. If you walked on and on, you became the finest forest, where trees all were tall and the lakes were deep. So, yeah, that's his style. A little complicated. Because of the nature of the fairy tale genre, Andersen's writing is simple and straightforward. These stories are supposed to be written in a way that even children can understand. The simplicity, however, should not be misinterpreted as superficiality. Many of Andersen's stories get to the heart of an important moral, and okay, so how did he develop his style? Uh, Many of Andersen's stories get to the heart of an important moral or psychological point, and the simplicity of the style only adds to the dramatic impact of those points through contrast. He's well known for his travelogues, which combined elements of reportage, reflection, and fiction. On the basis of his journal entries, it is possible to conclude that Andersen was a hopeless romantic. He had a habit of developing feelings for unattainable women, and these women served as creative inspirations, but not as real-life companions. Surprisingly, one of the first works published by Søren Kierkegaard, the brilliant Danish existential philosopher, was a scathing critic of Andersen. He said that he was shallow, that a fiction writer should have a developed life view, that his work should almost retroactive reflections of this life view. And Andersen did not appear to have any such life view. Instead of making it up as he goes in a somewhat manner. However, one could argue that this whimsy is part of what makes Andersen's work so appealing in the first place.